Hey, it's Jeff, and this is the Indie Game Legend 3D development log. Update 10. I got a lot done in the last 2 weeks. Lots of fixes and minor improvements I won't get into, but let's go over some of the bigger points. A new game now starts with a quick text intro that sets up the premise of the game. Currently it's using the story of the original game, which may change a bit. It's immediately followed by a loading screen instead of a half-loaded screen floating in space while the scene loads. This is also a cheap fix to cover up loading new areas until we can get that loading time down. I also added an ending to the game, which isn't the final ending, but a temporary ending for the upcoming preview release. These are minor additions, but they really make the game feel like a finished product. I was not looking forward to doing this ice puzzle room, which replaced a simple hidden button and movable block puzzle. It did turn out to be a lot of work and caused me to redesign how movable blocks work, but it was worth it. It's really the first puzzle you encounter that requires you to think through a number of steps, which is satisfying both as a player and as a designer. And the movable block works better than ever and feels good to push or shoot on ice. It also now feels better to use in the other areas.
It's just like overall bad. Like I would rather just not even test it until that's fixed.
Immediately upon playtesting with the mouse, we ran into the problem of system mouse acceleration. This is particularly noticeable on Macs. It makes quick mouse movements change your direction so fast you often overshoot turning around, which makes it real easy to get disoriented. There's not a lot of talk about dealing with this for some reason, but I found that clamping mouse deltas helped keep quick mouse movement mapped to a reasonable turn speed. Though if clamped too much, you get a deceleration effect, which gives the opposite problem of mouse acceleration. Luckily, a decent clamp value somewhere in between was found, which might not be perfect, but is a huge improvement. A quick flash of red on the screen has not been enough to get people to notice they're hurt. So now when you get hit, I turn the parts of the hearts that you just lost red for a moment. This also helps make it more clear how much damage different enemies give. But then to really drive home that you're in danger, on your last heart, it not only blinks, but your whole screen starts to desaturate and a red vignette builds up. This not only better communicates your near death, but it increases tension. Finding health releases that tension and becomes much more satisfying. Getting frozen by vents in Sector 3 was way too easy. So now before you get frozen, you get slowed down and see that you're getting colder. This gives you a chance to escape the vent before getting frozen, which without this can feel cheap, as it locks you in place for a fixed time. Eventually we'll add a way to speed up getting unfrozen, but this alone was a big improvement. Remember baking? I now have a solid workflow for baking the static floor and wall tiles into a single mesh. This includes keeping those tiles in a separate Unity scene, so the scene used in-game doesn't have the thousands of tile objects that make up the floors and walls. I can just load this separate scene to make edits, then bake with pre-made bakers, and then replace the mesh object in the game scene. Now I just have to do this for the other sectors. Frostbite is back and meaner than ever. Most of the rest of his polish was finished, and he now has a set pattern instead of randomly picking what he does next. This not only helps with testing, but it's better for players as they can actually learn his behavior now and plan around it. He also has several phases in which he gets progressively harder as you bring his health down. Playing him now can get really intense, and I'm excited to bring these kinds of improvements to the other bosses. I'm still working on the announcement trailer and Steam page. Meanwhile, I'm also doing some playtesting, hopefully with your help. Sign up at TIGL3D.com to get involved in playtesting. Otherwise, I'll be getting back to filling out those new areas I mentioned last update. Well, that's it. As always, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and join us on Twitch nearly every weekday afternoon to come hang out and participate in the development of the indie game legend 3D.
Come on, race condition.
I did. It originally had that problem, and I noticed it.